the result of God trying to develop intimacy and more communion with those of us who are his children. Let's look at what Isaiah says in this 19th verse of the 59th chapter of Isaiah. The first thing Isaiah says about levees being broken in our lives is that you must understand the absolute certainty of broken levees. When you look at the B portion of verse 19, Isaiah says, when? Let's stop right there. Notice he doesn't say if. He does not say maybe or possibly. He does not say potentially. The prophet says when. He's not speaking figuratively or metaphorically. He says when. When your levees break. In other words, there is a certainty of broken levees. If you don't believe me, I say it like my grandmama used to say, just keep on living. Touch two people and tell them, just keep on living. Because every child of God, I wish I was preaching to real folk this morning. I said every child of God is going to have circumstances that will come against you that is greater than your ability to handle it. Oh, I know I'm right. Y'all don't want to say nothing. So let me call on a few witnesses. Come here, Job. How certain is it? Job says, man that is born of a woman, I wish I had about 9 Bible readers, is but a few days, and those few days are full of trouble. Jesus talked to us. What do you have to say? Jesus told me to tell you, in this world, not the next, but touch somebody and tell them, in Roanoke, you're going to have trials and tribulations. Come on, Paul, I need to hear from you this morning. What you got to say? Paul says, those who live godly in Jesus Christ shall suffer persecution. I think Paul says, therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. Now, based on my witnesses, I'm persuaded that it is an absolute certainty that our levees gonna break. Now, I can't tell you when it's gonna happen. There is no Doppler machine, no other man with meteorological magic that can tell you when it's coming. Isaiah just says, when the Assyrians come, when Nebuchadnezzar comes, when the Romans come. Let's make it contemporary. When trouble comes, when issues and circumstances and problems and burdens and sickness and pain and losing your job and losing your house and losing your car and losing your hair, when the cutoff notices come in the mail, when you find a pink slip on your desk, high five two folk and just tell them when. I don't know when, but it's absolutely certain. Isaiah says when. You got to know that it's certain that we will have broken levees. Not only does the prophet deal with absolute certainty of broken levees, but secondly, he deals with the adversary who causes your broken levees. He deals with the absolute certainty when, and then he deals with the adversary who causes your broken levees. Look at what he says. He says, when the enemy, can I just take my time and cut this one up? When the enemy is the adversary who causes havoc. You see, there are times in our lives, and maybe you didn't know that, but God intentionally and deliberately gives the devil room, gives the devil permission to wreak havoc in our lives. You know Job's story, don't you? The enemy said to God, the reason Job serves you the way he serves you is because you got a hedge all around him. But if you just take the hedge down, I'll make Job show you a side that you've never seen. And God gave the devil permission to go to work on Job. God said, just leave his soul intact. And how many times have you heard me say from this pulpit, if the Lord have done it before, he can do it again? Well, sometimes God allows the enemy to slip through a crack. How many know all he needs is a little gap? All he needs is a little crevice. And he can come in and turn things upside down and inside out and overturn things. All he needs is a crevice. When the enemy sees us in the midst of a storm, you know what his desire is? His desire is to put some dynamite on your spiritual levee, some dynamite near your soul. So he can use you in the expansion of his territory. And when those times come in your life, you can't play with the devil. I wish I was preaching to real folk. You can't play footsie with the devil. But when those times come in your life, you got to look the devil in the eye and say, take your best shot, because I'm determined that I'm going to stay with Jesus. Let me see the hands of those who done made up in your mind. No matter what come your way, get your neighbor by the hand and shake it like it's a salt shaker and tell him I'm determined to stay with Jesus. He's been too good to me. He's brought me through too many things to turn around now. Tell your neighbor, I've come too far. I've been through too much to turn around now. If you one of them saints that ain't gonna turn around, jump up right quick and shout, no turning back. And not only do you need to notice the absolute certainty of broken levees, and not only do you need to be aware that Satan causes broken levees, but I want you to notice the agony and the chaos of broken levees. Look at the text. Look at it. Look at Isaiah says, when the enemy shall come in like a flood. I believe I got some folk in here who know from personal experience that he'll do just that. He'll come in just like a flood. You know, a flood can suffocate you. A flood can immobilize you. A flood can destroy everything that's in sight. A flood can destroy everything that you've invested in. Shake your neighbor's hand and tell them you can drown in a flood. And that's what's happening to somebody even as I speak. The enemy has come to your house. He done start acting up on your job. He'll come in your relationship. He'll get in your children. He'll come between you and some good friends. He'll come in the area of your health. He'll come in the area of your finances. Oh, yes, he will. Come on, touch somebody and tell me, oh, yes, he will. He'll come in the area of your spiritual well-being. And it comes in just like a flood. And your spiritual levees have given way. When they're broken, it looks like ain't no way out. But let me close, because I done counted 2, 3, y'all. Look like you're getting ready to go to sleep. Just before I close, let me close with what Isaiah ends the verse with. Isaiah says, when the enemy comes in like a flood, get this, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. Preachers, that's shouting material right there. Somebody's asking, well, brother pastor, what is a standard? I'm so glad you asked. For those Mesopotamian generals and warriors, a standard was a prerequisite for war. Whenever a general or a king was about to invade foreign territory, at the front of the battle, there had to be a standard. The standard was highly prided in warfare. And one of the first who they would attack, this was a particular strategy for the son of Philip, who we know as Alexander the Great. One of the things that Alexander the Great would always do in battle, he would first of all attack the standard of his opposition. For the opposition would have a standard, which is a vestige. It's an oracle. It was something that was lifted up. Let's make it contemporary. It's what we would call a billboard today. It's what we would call a large sign. It's what we would call a large plaque. But that standard, that big billboard, that large sign, you know what was on that sign? Engraved on it was a list of previous victories that had already been won. What? I see something. And what I see, there are times when our levees break, when the storms of life come against us. But can I tell you what the Holy Ghost does before I go to my seat? The Holy Ghost comes along and gets in the front of the battle, and he lifts up a great big sign. He lifts up a billboard. He lifts up a great big plaque. Touch your neighbor, tell them, so you can see it. And what's on that billboard is all the hell you done already been through. But you won the battle. All the stuff that you've already been through. Everything that you've already endured. All of the problems that you've already overcome. Isaiah said, when your levees break, God gets in front of the battle and lifts up a standard to remind every child of God, that the battle is not yours, but it belongs to God. He puts everything on that sign, everything that you've already been through, to let you know if he's done it before, he's able to do it again. Now I'm going to my seat, but I don't know what your levee is today. I don't know what you're going through right now. I don't know what your issues are, and I don't know what your situations may be, and I don't know about the circumstances that you're in the midst of that have caused your spiritual levees to break. But one thing I know, get your neighbor by the hand and tell one thing I know. God is doing something. He's lifting up a standard. He got a great big sign, got a great big billboard with every trial and with every tribulation and with all of your issues and with all of your circumstance. Get your neighbor by the hand, shake it like it's a salt shaker, and tell them everything that the devil tried to use to kill, steal, and destroy. God, I said, God got it on the billboard to remind you